We're going to switch again, and we're looking at Galatians chapter 2, verse 1. Then after 14 years, I went up again to Jerusalem with Barnabas, taking Titus along with me. Galatians 1, 18 and 19, Paul describes his trip that he made to Jerusalem 3 years after Jesus met him on the road to Damascus. Here he describes a second trip to Jerusalem 14 years later. Remember, Paul's point from Galatians 1, he demonstrated that his gospel came by revelation of Jesus and not from man, not even from the apostles in Jerusalem. 2 visits to Jerusalem over 14 years demonstrated that Paul did not sit at the feet of the disciples of Jesus to learn the gospel. Traveling with Paul to Jerusalem were both Barnabas, who was well respected among the leaders of Jerusalem, according to Acts 4:36 through 37 and Acts 11:22, and Titus, who was a Gentile convert. Titus was a remarkable man associated with the Apostle Paul. A surprising number of passages show that Paul loved and trusted Titus and regarded him as a valuable associate. 2 Corinthians 2:13, Paul referred to Titus as my brother and says how he had no peace when Titus was absent. 2 Corinthians 7, verse 6 says Paul was comforted by the coming of Titus. 2 Corinthians 8:6 shows how Paul trusted Titus to receive a collection from the Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 8:16 says that Titus had the same earnest care that filled the heart of Paul. 2 Corinthians 8:23, Paul said that if anyone inquires about Titus, he is my partner, my fellow worker among you. 2 Corinthians 12:18, Paul spoke again of Titus and how he shared Paul's heart. Titus did not take advantage of you. Did we not walk in the same spirit? Didn't we not walk in the same steps? In Titus 1:4, Paul called Titus a true son in common faith. So we all say all of this to show Paul's acceptance of this Gentile named Titus. And this goes to the carrying out of the order of the Jerusalem Council. Verse 2, I went up because of revelation and set before them, though privately before those who seemed influential, the gospel that I proclaimed among the Gentiles, in order to make sure that I was not running or had not run in vain. The idea that Paul went up to Jerusalem by the expressed the direction of God, because he didn't feel obligated to go, but God sent him there. He communicated the message of how the Gentiles were accepted, and he communicated the danger of the false teachers, the Judaizers, that had creeped into the church.